I was starting to build my reoccurring revenue, but I was like, how much will it cost me to run the business and also live my personal life for a few weeks in summer? And I added all of that up, and I added a 20% contingency, because the last thing we want is to feel financially insecure when we're on vacation. And I just started saving the rest of the year.
Welcome to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinal, and this is a space where bold moves meet inspired action. Join us as we dive into stories, strategies, and mindset of those who are building their dreams, creating impactful communities, and redefining success on their terms. Whether you're looking for practical business tips, a boost of inspiration, or a community that gets your vision, you are in the right place. Get ready to elevate your journey and embrace what it means to be a bold founder. Let's dive in. And welcome back to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinal, and today's episode might just blow your mind kind of like it did to me once. And so I can't remember the exact moment or time that I heard Selina Gray say that she's taking summers off. And I remember just being like, huh? That's a thing? We can do that? And so I didn't know that was possible. I didn't realize, like, I understand you build your business so we can create freedom in our lives, so we can like not have a ceiling on our income. But I just also thought that also meant that like there was a ton of work that we had to put in to be able to get to where we wanted to go, our end game. I didn't even consider that you didn't work 9 to 5 or that you took all summers off. And so I remember when like Selena first said that, I was just like, what? This is possible? I don't get it. So I really wanted to have you on today to really talk about, what does that mean? Like how can we do that? How can we financially do that? How can we, like, even just someone, as we've talked about before, as the go-getter and the hustler, how do you actually take that time off? If you've met Selina Gray before or had a previous episode, we had you on the second and third podcast of The Bold Entrepreneur. Selina is a CPA who spent nearly a decade as a controller for 2 international public companies, managing finance teams across 12 countries. But an unexpected autoimmune diagnosis became the wake-up call she did not see coming. In 2011, she founded her own company, and today Selina is an international speaker and business mentor, helping entrepreneurs transform their relationships with money, earn more, keep more, and invite joy and peace into their business. She's also the founder of Trailblazer Live, a 2-day business conference happening October 28th and 29th, and is a true example of what it means to build a business on your terms. Selina, I cannot wait to bring this conversation to life and hopefully have some people that are listening to this go, wait, what? I want that. And so I just want to open up, what does it mean to have summers off and how can we do that? So I'm going to kind of start with questioning you on this, but welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be back. I'm so grateful to have this conversation, and I'm so grateful to spend this time with you and everyone listening.
Yay. Okay, I want to know, can you walk us through what sparked your decision to build a business that lets you take summers off? What did this shift look like for you?
I love this question. So when I first began my business, I realized I had spent nearly 26 years equivalent working in 9 years before I started my business. I was working over 100-hour weeks. I was traveling the globe. And while there was parts of it that I really loved, I missed out on everything. I think I took 4 vacation days across those 9 years. My connections, my family, I just missed things. And so in my heart, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And as you know, if you've listened to my story before, I got really sick and I came out of a 30+ day hospital stay with Crohn's disease. And so it was kind of like my wake up call to be like, if I'm going to do this, I better be doing it with freedom and vitality wherever possible. So I had my daughter in 2015. And up until that point, I'd been scaling my business and taking some time off here or there. But she was really the catalyst for me and being like, I need to find a way to make this happen because I don't want to miss moments. Because when she was first born, it was ridiculous. I was like, I'm going to have a baby and they're going to sit in swings and I'm going to be doing my work meetings. And of course, the universe just laughs at you, right? I had a baby who was like, I'm not sleeping in any swing. I want to be held 24/7. And I was just like, I felt really like I hadn't optimized the newborn phase. I was just surviving it. And I was like, I really want to spend quality time with her as she gets older. And so that became like the synergistic plan for me to make it. So that's where it really came from, two areas where I really overworked before, and to having a child who I wanted to spend quality time with. So that really became my why for making it happen. And then it was just a matter of innovating and testing and trying it. So from 2011 to 2015, it was really about like, how many weeks can I take off? How can I make this happen? And I had some teacher friends who had all summer off. And when we were having our first year together of like our babies being small, I was just asking them, like, what do you do in the summer? And they're like, it's wonderful. I have several weeks off, and I'm like, I want to do that. So essentially, I started thinking about, I want reoccurring income, like you and I talk about all the time. Like, reoccurring income is so much freedom because it allows people to pay you at a frequency that feels nourishing to the business. So for example, what I mean by that is a lot of people will work with me for a year. And in doing so, they're going to pay me all year long, or they're going to pay me in full upfront. But I allow myself to be paid each and every month from that cash flow. So then it was like, can I make this happen with my clients? And thankfully, because this was something I really believed in, a lot of my ideal clients were like, wait, you're taking summer off? I want to find a way to do that too. So it really synced up well in that I was like, this is us a year together, but let's like try to take some time off in summer and let's embody this freedom together. But cash flow wise, there's still money coming in summer, so it doesn't feel as heavy. But of course, with that comes the harmony of showing up more diligently across the rest of the year. So for example, like if I'm taking summer off, I still have to make sure I'm delivering. So it started with being like, how can I make sure my clients are still being serviced well and feel like they're receiving value? And then can I make this a way that all of us can benefit if we take summers off? And so for me, I felt like it was a no-brainer and it felt easy. Like, for example, you're like, I'd like to take summers off. And so it was just a matter of baking it into the offer so that I'm still giving tremendous value wherever possible, but then really embodying living a life that feels free, because that's what in essence I teach. And then having the cash flow that honors my nervous system over summer so I don't feel freaked out that money is not coming in. So that's kind of where it began. Does that answer the question appropriately?
Yeah, it does. And I think I really looked at this and like when you first mentioned it, I didn't actually believe that this was like a thing that we were even allowed to do. Like it's amazing how we have these set beliefs and we just think, okay, well this is I work 9 to 5 and I like these are my hours I have to work. And even as entrepreneurs, like we are the ones setting the schedule. And so we don't it's amazing how unless you see it done, you don't know that it's possible. And when we first met, I was in the event industry. So it really hit me because I worked all summer. Like all summer was packed all week and weekends. And I remember like I just felt like I was missing so much. Like we have a cabin and my kids would be out there with my husband and they would be sending me pictures of what's happening. And I'd be like, oh, I'm missing everything. Like this is their time off. Like
It's
during
actually heartbreaking.
it is. During the school year, they're gone for half the day. So you're like, well, okay, they're learning. It's not like I'm missing anything. I felt like I was missing everything. And they were little too. So it just was always like a hard thing. And so when I pivoted businesses, I was like, that's it. We're shifting this so that it is like very strategic in what I can do, like the timelines I can take off. Can I take summers off? And I just think it's really, really important that one, we know that this is a possibility, but also I love the fact that you talked about that financial aspect because there is that part where you're like, well, if I take it off, maybe I'm not going to have any money coming in. And how am I going to like pay for things? We're not talking about saying we're good for 2 months this summer so we can go and enjoy. We're saying, how can we structure our business to still flow, bring money in, still even like welcoming clients. Like maybe they're not coming in directly in the summer, but you're nurturing them so that they are ready for you in September.
Well, exactly. And the reality is, like, depending on the business, you can have the nurturing systems and be taking on clients in the summer. Like, so as far as my team is considered, I love to have everyone kind of take the summer off, but we have like a universal 911 signal. I remember a couple of years ago, I was on a boat in the middle of the lake, and I had service luckily, and one of the team members was like 911, and I was like, okay, I've got to take this. But it just creates like this culture so that we know, like, not only as the business owner am I taking the time off, but I want like everyone to have the opportunity. So we have to set up the systems and be prepared. So if the business can't sustain taking the break, we have to become really strategic in saying, how can we make this possible? So for me, it was extremely strategic. I'm like, how can I get summers off and work my way backwards? So can I do an offer that makes sense? Or if I'm like launching every month, if I'm not launching as in the summer, will it hurt me? And over time, I started realizing like, oh, I don't necessarily want to launch every month. I mean, some of you might have a business that you love launching every month. You could still have launches. They could be pre-recorded, for example, and have your funnels and all of your emails set up. Like Jen's got so many beautiful systems always rolling. I got some emails from you this morning. Like having those prepared is essential. But your business can still be moving forward while you're taking a break. And I think sometimes we get scared to take breaks financially and then thinking about like, what will people think? And some of us don't have ideal clients that it makes sense. Like I have quite a few clients who are like, I can't really take these monster breaks because of what I'm offering. So like my business is a boutique. It's a luxury service, but I feel like it's really equipped for the break to make sense and I can embody it with my clients. Some have a volume-based business where, they don't want to be showing that they're taking all this time away. They want to be more hands-on. And so like with team or with strategy or preparedness, we can make that happen. And so for me, I'm really upfront with my team about communication. Like we need to hit our revenue targets in order to take summer off. It's not just like, I'm taking summers off no matter what. It's like, I gamify it. Let's make it happen, right? Like a reward is to get summer off. And then we have to really communicate with clients when we're onboarding them, getting them to the yes of working with us. It's like, just so you know, we do slow summers here. This is what it looks like. We have reduced calls. We're less available. But then I also have opportunities for them to watch pre-recorded vaults that I have, and they can prepare. Or I also have community where they can still get together without me. But for the most part, most community members are like, yeah, I want to take summers off too. And then I set up, emails so that I've got an explanation saying like, hey, everyone, I want you to know, like, me and my team are making the most of summer. We're spending time with people we love the most, and we encourage you to do the same. And if you need us, hit reply with 911. And if not, we look forward to checking in with you in early September, right? So that everyone's expectation is clear. Myself, my team, my clients, anyone new. And then having a social strategy, which you know better than anyone, also comes into play. And for me, my specific strategy is a little bit different. I like to build my business from stage, but we have to think about all of these components in order to make it happen. And it's just become really important to me. And then even more than that, I now take more than summers off. I want to take at least like a week, a month that I don't have client meetings, but I can work on my business or maybe take a vacation if needed. So I'm just every year evolving into how I can have more freedom with it not jeopardizing my revenue if possible, or consciously deciding to not scale anymore. And that's something that I think is important. We have been inundated by hustle culture and like grow, grow, grow. And the reality is like, I've been doing this for so long. It's been 15 years. I don't know that I want to grow every year anymore. It feels like unnecessary pressure. So instead, I've had to recalibrate my values to say, why did I give myself permission to take summers off? Can I take more time off? What would I fill it with? Can I encourage my clients to do the same? And does it make financial sense? So to me, it's like opened up this massive can of worms about honoring the quality of my life in summer and also around like the year.
I want to touch on, this is not even like in my topics, but I did want to touch on the fact that you said that you wanted to, instead of sticking with like the hustle culture, you just decided, you know what, this is what I'm happy with. I don't need to continue growing and scaling. And I remember seeing my dad when I was younger, who had a construction company, and asking him like, okay, well, you're doing like, he did so amazing. And I'm like, well, why don't you grow? Why don't you get into more refineries? Like, and he was just like, I'm good. Like, I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with my crew. Like, and I remember thinking, I don't get it, because you could see all of these construction companies that were like huge. Like there's big construction companies out there and that could have been like a potential. And he was like, "No, I'm good." And so now that I'm like older and have my own business, and I can look back and be like, I totally get it. Like, why do you have to constantly push? And he understood that the more he grew and got bigger, the more he would be spread more thinly, less time with the family, unable to like travel with us or go camping. Like, we have so many good, amazing memories. And I really do think it's because you have to understand when, like, you're good. I'm happy with where my life is. I don't need to be crazy to, like, he didn't need that. And I really, really do understand that now.
So well said. I think so many of us like come into business and we adopt the values of other people without intentionally thinking about what it is for us. So I can honestly say the first like 10 years, I drank the business Kool-Aid. Like I had something to prove. I was a CPA, still am, but like formally coming out of a CPA role into this business. And I'm like, I need to do really well. Like part of it was ego, part of it was wanting a quality life, part of it was just knowing that I could. And so I was constantly reinvesting and growing and doing all of these things. And then I was feeling like really depleted. And as someone who has Crohn's, who's actively working to heal Crohn's, like I have to really be conscious of where my energy is going. And so I think it comes back to the value proposition we hold. Like I have watched many clients who are eight figures, like really working hard and missing out on things. And I have already done that once in my life where I worked so many hours and missed out on people's weddings and things. And I just feel like I learned that I didn't want to do that anymore. And at the end, like I've watched clients have all of this wealth and no one to enjoy it with. And I'm not saying that that always happens, right? Like this is a conscious choice, but it can become addictive. It can become addictive to being like, I'm not going to celebrate what I have. I'm just going to keep going for more. And if that's something that feels like an absolute yes to you, great. But doing that from the place of power instead of wounding is critical. And I realized like it was coming from wounding. I was like, I want people to notice that I'm growing. I want people to want to work with me because I'm trailblazing. And I really had to think like trailblazing for me is living the life and the business I really want, not based on someone else's terms. And so that aha wake up call for me was like, let me continue to evolve my business, but let me be excited to show up in my own business instead of dreading pieces. And that's become like a baseline for me now. When I start dreading certain aspects of my business, I'm like, why? What's happening here? Is this not fueling me? Am I extra tired? How can I innovate this? And it just feels like a lot of hope for me. And so I love what you shared about your dad because, like, bravo to him for the foresight to just be like, I really value time with my family. And for me, there is nothing more important than watching my daughter, be present to moments of, like that are core memories for her and traveling the globe with her. Like part of my joy is planning our travel schedule together while she still wants to travel with me. I hope she'll always travel with me. I'm sure if I'm paying, she's going to come. But like I'm currently planning her and I a venture to Europe. And I've made it something that she's saving for and she's excited about, and we talk about entrepreneur things, and it's becoming part of legacy instead of just like amassing this big amount of wealth, which I still love wealth and I still want to amass as much as I can, but there's like a tipping point to working too much feels like I'm giving up quality of life. And so just allowing myself to say, what is enough? And
Yeah.
recognizing like I can change my mind at any time, but I'm never going to get back the time. Like right now, my daughter at the time of airing is 10. I'm never going to get back this time. And that means something to me. And if you're listening and you're like, I don't resonate with that, no problem. Make sure you follow what feels like your highest good as you're, relating to breaks or taking time off or scaling. There's a million ways to build the business. There's a million ways to make $1 million. But if you're not doing it in your highest integrity with the life you really want to live, like what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we touched a lot about the beliefs, like the beliefs that we have. Like I said, I didn't understand that you couldn't work or you didn't have to work 9 to 5. Like that is a belief that has been ingrained in me, that that is what you work for your hours, and you hustle to grow. There's the belief that you were talking about earlier, where you believe like what, and I'm sure every entrepreneur has this, but like what are people going to think of us? Like there's that belief of other people's perception. What are some of the beliefs that we need to start tackling in order to change our mindset into one that does understand that we can create our own timeline, our own like work hour schedule, life? Like what does our life look like?
And the first like thought to that always is when you watch someone else doing something you want to do, and it might hit that like potential, like, oh, why not me? Asking yourself, why not me? But in a really empowered way to say, is there a way that I can bring this forward and make this happen? Because I feel like so many of us watch our life instead of living in our life. And what I mean by that is it's really easy to go through the motions when life is hectic. I do it all the time. But if I don't intentionally sit and say like, is there a way I can do this differently? Can I be more present? Like you and I were talking before it was aired, like I'm really in a season of romanticizing my life. And part of that is questioning my existing beliefs, because our neural pathways have set up those automations for a reason, right? And part of our job is to slow down and question, like, oh, that's really good. I heard someone doing this. How can I make that possible for me? Instead of it being a ceiling, I like to break through it and saying, why not me? Is there a way I can make it happen? And so to me, I just love to pay attention to things that are happening around me that I want. And I'm like, okay, can I make this happen? And sometimes the cost feels too great. Like the amount I'm going to have to work just isn't worth it for me. But yeah, there's so many beliefs that are just like, oh, that's for someone else, or that could never happen, or we find all the reasons why it's not going to make sense. But can we find evidence of possibility and allow ourselves to step into upgraded beliefs where it's like, okay, best case scenario, what happens, instead of us automatically going into like exclusion or worst case scenario. So for me, there's a lot of beliefs around just like what we've witnessed before and societal norms and what's happened in our families. And I think for me, it was just like, why not me? I have one precious life. That is like my tagline forever. One precious life. Let's make the most of it. Does this feel like it's energizing me, or does it feel like it's depleting? And if it's depleting, what can I adjust? And so to me, like beliefs are 80% of it. So it's like, let's find a way. And then the strategy of actually testing and innovating takes us over the threshold of that 20%. And just as I'm talking about this now, because like this is so important to have conversations and be part of this discussion. Like right now, I can think of beliefs that are stopping me in other areas of my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to apply this. Like we get blinders up because we think, no, that it's been like this. I'm going to keep doing it. So like literally I'm going to take notes after this in a few of the areas of my life that I'm like, I'm not living this. So I know how to, take time off of my business and cash flow. Great. Can I do it better? Always. I'm well versed in that, but I've got some areas in my life that maybe aren't. So even if you don't want to take more time off in work, I hope this conversation will just like remind us that we are always the ones. And that's why I love trailblazing, like the one who goes first in wild country to living our most beautiful life. Let's do it.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about the belief aspect, and we have like trickled a little bit on the financial aspect of it. But like, so for somebody who is now listening to this episode and saying, okay, I want to take this off, how can I do that from a financial perspective? How can they set up their business in a way that allows them that ability to take it off and then the freedom of it? And like, it could just be as simple as I'm taking Fridays off, or maybe I'm going to start
Right.
working a little bit, like we'll finish working a little bit earlier in the day. Or we can talk about taking the full summer break, but like, what is the beginner steps of looking at the financial perspective on how can we make this happen?
So for me, first is like listing the desires and the financial implications of the desires. So to me, it's like, okay, if I want to eventually get to taking summers off, but I've never done it before, maybe the gradual step is, like you said, every Friday off in summer, or I'm going to take a week off in July and a week off in August. How can I make this happen? And really thinking that through, like walking through those scenarios. So for example, if you have a launch plan that is already set up monthly, you might say, okay, financially, I can't change that right now, but I want to. So one of the ways I'm going to change that is I might start saving a portion of every launch so that I can save up enough to cover the week and have a sinking fund and name it something fun that feels energizing, like vacation or summer off, and start being intentional instead of just like spending in the business. It's like every time I launch, I'm going to put 5 to 10% of it away so that it starts paying for itself. Or I might look at my launch plan as in its entirety, or the number of clients I take on, and say, is it possible for me to take on one extra client, in Q1 or Q2, so that I don't have to take on as many clients? Can I start having conversations with my team? Is there ways we can start automating this? Which is fun, because when we started doing that, I realized, wait, there's way more cost savings here if I'm intentional. Like, this process around finances can sometimes feel heavy, but I love to think about it as like, oh, maybe we're going to find fun money in other places. And we did this. And then saying like, okay, can I get some extra clients in other times? Or, can I reduce costs? Maybe, sometimes sometimes staff are like, you know what? I'm happy to take off a week unpaid. Maybe not, but like opening those kinds of conversations about where the money's flowing, what are the possibilities, and not expecting it, right? Like, we want to treat our team with our highest and best, and they're part of it, but asking the questions of like, how can I make this possible? So I'd be going line item by line item in revenue. Is there a way I can add to this? Or can I save more if I don't want to launch more? Maybe I can change my launch strategy. Instead of launching every month, I might do it every 6 weeks and see if that creates momentum. So to me, what it is innovating and then looking at the quantifiable results and saying, is this feasible? So when I first made this happen, I did the sinking fund method. I was like, no one is going to tell me I can't do this. I was starting to build my reoccurring revenue, but I was like, how much will it cost me to run the business and also live my personal life for a few weeks in summer? And I added all of that up, and I added a 20% contingency, because the last thing we want is to feel financially insecure when we're on vacation. And I just started saving the rest of the year. And 5 or 10%, or like a couple hundred or a couple thousand, depending on the scale of your business, sometimes isn't missed. And then you've got that account there waiting for you. And then it's like, okay, I can do this. So the reality of it is getting intimate with your financial information, and also looking at, if you have a team, how will this time be covered? How will we communicate it? And then also, like, do I need more or less clients? If I didn't work during that time and it wasn't earning income, would it harm us? And for some people, the answer is no, right? Like, because if you're taking time, sometimes the business isn't spending as much either. So just asking yourself those intentional questions. Does that make sense, Jen?
That does. And it actually makes me think of a couple other things like that I've been doing or thinking about in my business. One, I have like that self-depleting fund, and I call it my vacation fund, where I just like anything that's extra, I'll just pop it into this account. And then that is like my vacation money. Like, oh, we want to go on a trip? Yep, we can go for it. Right. So that is like, it's kind of like every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is exciting to have, right? So I think that's an amazing thing to
It
have, and
is.
use it for what you want. You can have it for summers off. You can have it for vacation, like I do.
And you could have more than one. Like,
Hmm.
you would laugh if you went into my banking, but I have like 8 of those accounts. Like, they are high interest savings accounts where I can't invest the money because I might need it. But every time I log in, I'm seeing like, oh, right, there's that thing I want to do. So for example, for me, like, I am going to run retreats internationally. Well, those are really expensive. And sometimes you have to pay big amounts of cash flow. So I'm always like making it more fluid so that I know I can take
Yeah.
summers off, but I also can do other fun things in my business. So just having those extra accounts, like you said, are just like,
Yeah.
oh, a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah. And then also like one thing I've been looking at now is I have had retirement on my head for a while. It's not like it's coming any day soon, but there is going to become a point where I'm like, okay, well, once I do decide to retire, like that means I don't have like my social media agency clients going anymore, or maybe it's running in the background with a team supporting it. But like, how can I create some sort of cash flow for myself so that it's not like a solid cutoff of like working and then not working? Because yeah, you have your retirement funds, but like I still, maybe it's the entrepreneur in me, but I'm like, well, what can I create to runs in the background that doesn't require me to be hands on? And
I
so
love
thinking about
this.
how you can do that in your business too, because that'll give you that freedom. It'll be like, even if it's just bonus money when you're retired. Like I'm always thinking about like, what does this look like? How can we build in more cash flow? How can we build in more safety?
One of the many reasons I love your brain, thinking about this is important because a lot of us are just like, oh, we'll get this done and we'll think about retirement later because retirement is like this big scary thing a lot of us, can't quantify for a variety of reasons. We
Yeah.
don't know how much we need. We don't know what our life's going to look like. Are we going to be, super pumped at 80 to climb a mountain? Like, who knows? But having that be part of it, like thinking about, is your business sellable? And if it's not, like if it's a personal branded business, it's like, oh, well, can I still do aspects of this in the future? And I'm right there with you. I'm like, I want to be
Mhm.
75 still speaking on a stage, but it's probably going to look a lot different. And so having those kind of conversations with yourself, with your partner, if you have one, and then also thinking about like, what does this look like in 10 years? Because for
Mhm.
me, like you nailed it. Like I'm on my trial run of semi-retirement right now because I love to spend money. The reality is like I love to travel. It's just some, and I love to interact with my clients. Like every year I'm like so grateful for what I've built. But we also need to think about our future. So now's never been a better time to be like, okay, I want to take some summers off. Well, let me also think about my financial legacy. While I'm doing this, can I change my launch strategy and also start saving for retirement? Or can I have some conversations with a certified financial planner or thinking about like, is my business sellable? Because if it's sellable, that might be a retirement strategy. So I really love what you're saying here is just not just about this year's summer off, but starting to really live the quality of life that you want. And for me, like, I don't know that retirement makes sense. It might just be, having pockets of work a few times a week
Yeah.
or a few times a month or a few times a year, just because it's fun. And, when I was doing full on accounting things, I used to watch people retire and then, get dementia or whatever. So it's really important to think about like quality of life now and into the future. And I love what you said about that. And it's always good to think about like, okay, what is this a legacy decision of mine? If I'm going to start taking summers off, can I continue this forever? Or is this a trial run for my retirement? I love that. Those are really good questions.
Well, and I think because I've seen my parents' retirements, like their retirement is they're snowbirds. They leave Edmonton, Canada in the winter and they head south. And like it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful there. They have the most amazing life, such a good group of friends. They play pickleball. My mom's into glass. And I just like, I want that. Like it just has really
Yes.
opened up your eyes to what is possible and has really made me start thinking about that. Plus, I was like, how old were you when you like started coming here? And they told me, and I was like, oh God, that's in 10 years. Like if I were to follow in their footsteps, like it really got me going, okay, if in 10 years, and now it's less because it's been a couple years since they said that, but this is like my 10-year goal, how does that work? Like, what does that look like? And how much do I need to have that lifestyle? And their lifestyle is amazing. I really think that like when you retire and you're active and you like really just enjoy life, you work out, you go and like involve yourself in the community in sports. I just think that you live the best life, but also your body is so thankful to you.
A
Like
hundred
you're
percent.
taking care of yourself. And so
But like,
that's all part of it.
what a gift for you to have this conversation with them and be like, okay, I've got a 10-year plan. It's very much the same as when we started this discussion around like, okay, I desire to have summers off. What can this look like? Very
Hmm.
similar. It's like
Yeah.
almost the practice for the secondments or the sabbaticals or the, semi-retired or retired. It's like the practicing of what we actually want instead of just going to this unknown destination of time. I love that. It's like, okay, about 10 years, what can I make possible? Like whether or not you want to do it, it's giving yourself the option to choose. And that's really what I feel like money and earning wealth and having success in our businesses is about the ability to choose what we want. Like you might save enough money to take summer off, then you're like, actually, I don't want to. It's
Yeah.
just the fact that you had the choice, and that's inevitably what you're doing when you're asking your parents and deciding I love. Like to me, money legacy conversations are some of the best because if we give ourselves choice, like that is the most soul fulfilling safety net we can have.
Well, and I think that seeing is believing. So, one of the things that I always talk about is like putting yourself in the room with other people and other entrepreneurs, because then you can see what they're doing and it also helps you to see
Yes.
what's possible. So, whether that be in rooms with entrepreneurs or maybe that happens to be like in rooms with people that are living the life that you want, right? Like,
Yes.
start listening and asking the questions. And I know finances can be a little bit of a scary thing that people don't really want to talk about, feels taboo. But I think it's really, really important to start to understand. And even if you're going to see somebody, and like a lot of people don't go to see a financial account or any specialist in finances or retirement because they're like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not there yet. But if you constantly are saying that, like you're basically setting yourself up to never be there. But
Well, yeah, and
also,
you're
you have
losing out on
options.
valuable time. Like, it's never been a better time now. And I
Yeah.
think you're so right. Like, being able to borrow someone else's learning curve is the point, no matter the context.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that yes, we can create our lives the way we want it. We can enjoy summers off. Like, I think this is incredible. But it also is something that's really, really important to start thinking about because we never know what's going to happen in our lives and what's going to be tossed our way. Whether it's health issues, maybe it's family issues, it's tough seasons, it's like the pandemic shutting businesses down. We need to make sure that our businesses are set up so that even if something happens and we can't be in our business, that our business is still running. So how can you build a business that really supports you in moments like that?
Yeah, and I think it's so effective to have like contingency funds, emergency funds inside the business. So, like for me personally, because I am someone who is always looking to be vitality filled with a chronic illness, I like really think about having a lot of cash reserves so that if I am unable to work for 6 months, that the business can sustain itself. I can pay the team. Maybe we have to pause client relationships, but the business can still pay me and it can pay my team because I take a lot of responsibility around that and I don't want to let anyone down. And I think it's really important to think about like what level of energy goes to fear if you don't have the money in the business. And I think like this is a really important conversation to have with yourself, with your partner, and then having that financial dream team, like having the discussion with your accountant, having the discussion with a CFP to say, like, oh, how much cash should I have around and why, and basing that around the life choices. And can it be in a high interest savings? It can't be invested in case we need the money, or 6 months is too much, or 12 months is ideal. Like those are individual discussions to have, but ultimately they need to happen because it could influence how often you launch, or if it might invigorate you to be like, hold up here, I have 10 years and I want to earn some more cash flow. And rather than it just being like, oh, I'll go through the motions, it lights a fire under you and you want to take on more clients, or this whole process might invigorate you to create a new offer. So I think it's really important conversation to have. And it might start off with wanting to take summers off, but in the grander scale, it's like creating a sounding board for you to have the best life you can and be prepared when things are going to go wrong. Because guess what? Life is always going wrong. And then also, like, do you need levels of insurance, and clarifying that? So where this is coming to is like really thinking about the dream team, the accountant, the financial person, making sure the will is set in and how does the implications of the business come in, having the insurance person to really think through like, if there's a lot of extra cash flow, like can there be things set up inside the business to take care of the family legacy after for your children? Like there's lots of different discussions, and many times that can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't need to when you're like, I want to take summers off and I'm going to set up my family to have a beautiful legacy, myself included. I think this can be the catalyst for real change and thinking about that. And I know for me, it's like a daily thought of just being like, okay, well now I'm in my 40s. Like, I want to take care of myself. I want to be emotionally well regulated. I want to be, financially well and regulated. I want to emotionally be, happy. And I want to make sure that my health is in play and I have good memories. And all of that can be overwhelming, or it can be just something that you decide you're going to take and run with. And to me, I want to run with it.
I love it. So beautiful. Okay, so I do want to touch on this because I do feel like I'm probably one of these people also, recovering one of these people. So for the woman who's like, there's a lot of women in business who are like, they're dreaming big, but they're also dreaming of more time, more space, and more freedom. But they do feel a little bit like they're stuck in that loop of the hustle, the pressure, and I can't slow down yet. I don't have the time to slow down. I don't want to lose the momentum. Like, what do you say to those women that they are dreaming of it, but it's just like they're holding themselves back?
Like, what are you scared of? Are you scared that something's going to go wrong? And what's the best thing that can happen? And I like to challenge those women to say, like, you got here, now get to the next level, which could be same cash flow, but less time. And you can fill it with something else. Because taking a rest sometimes is really scary, right? Like having nothingness is scary. But to me, I really can get behind a good pattern interruption. If I'm initially like wanting to grow and scale, which I've always done, there was just like a whisper in the back of my mind being like, oh, I want something else. Just giving yourself that space to be like, what is the something else? And I've always been able to achieve. So why can't I achieve this? And if I were going to do it, or if it was someone else, because sometimes if it's too close to us, we can't see it. What are the recommendations? Maybe there's a mentor I can lean on. Maybe there's some sisterhood conversations that I can be held accountable to. But to me, like those whispers that we feel, we need to listen to. And if the whispers aren't coming, it's like, okay, well, this isn't for me now. I'll leave it. But I still think like money and time and space need to happen. And so I love to come back to the whole concept of romanticizing my life, being like, okay, if I have 5 years left, am I going to be really happy with how I've spent them? Because I think about that often with someone who has health challenges. And so I'm like, okay, if I want to change something, what's the path of least resistance to me changing that? And can I challenge myself? Because all of us overachievers still like to challenge ourselves to things, but keep the same revenue or upgrade it 10%, but work 20% less. Can I gamify that and make it happen? So I love to think about like that eagle eye view. If I'm going to make these the best 5 years possible, and I'm going through my values for me of core memories, and then really bringing that to life, seeing it through rather than it just being a thought. Like, how can I bring that to life and make it happen? And can I hold myself accountable with people I care about, or a coach, or sisterhood? To me, that's something that's always worked really well for me. What about you?
I think what you said is perfect because I love the idea of gamifying it and of romanticizing your life, because I do think that we can easily get stuck in this is what I want to do. These are my checklists of the things I want to achieve in my business and personal life. And it does feel like if we're going to take a break, is that going to just halt? Am I going to lose momentum? It's like posting on
Scary.
social media. If I post on social media regularly, I will get growth and my community will build. But if I take any time off, the algorithm will like punish you for it and then you like drop, right? So it feels a little bit like that. But at the same time, I'm not willing to miss out on the important things. And I think that is my lesson learned because I have missed out. I've also like experienced loss and hard things in life, and I'm not willing to not be there for someone or not be there for my family or whatever it is because I'm too busy with work. I want the life where I can drop my work and be with the people that matter the most to me. It's just such a realization coming out of like really that hustle culture and constantly being go, go, go. And I got to do this and I got to achieve that and never celebrating yourself. And now coming to the point where I'm like, no, I want to build the life that allows me more freedom and freedom without feeling guilty about it. Right.
Yes.
And so I think you just have to
You,
really sit and look at it at what you want.
You've really taught me a lot this year around just like giving yourself permission. Like I've talked to a lot of things, and like it's good because sometimes we just like we have those neural pathways, like we said, like we don't even see it. It's a blind spot. And you're just like, choose. And I think like your wisdom here is extremely effective. Like all of us have gone through hard things, and sometimes the reaction is to bury it and keep going. And sometimes it should be like, what is this teaching me so that I can evolve my life and my business? And like, I love your commitment. It makes so much sense to me thinking about how we started this podcast around like missing things in summer and like how you show up for your kids now. Like you really do embody what you speak of. And I'm so honored to know you. And also like, I love these conversations, and I hope like if you're listening it's just like that reminder of like, oh, if there was something that hit your soul today, to just find a way to make it happen. Because to me, like quality of life means more to me than almost anything. But if I'm in financial scarcity, meaning I don't feel like I have enough or I feel behind, that feeling can overtake my quality of life. And so really thinking about like, what is the amount of money I need so that I can make choices that feel possible? And there's like safety and security. Safety is like, I have to get all my bills done, and security is like, I have room to dream. And those have always been important to me. But you've taught me so much about just like giving permission to myself, and also like not just keeping relationships in my life because they're around. It's like, are these relationships enriching me? And I'm like forever grateful for you doing that for me, because it's important. And that's why sisterhood in business is important. It's just like, oh, we're catching up. And then someone who knows you, and I'm grateful to know Jen quite well, she's just like, hey, what about this? And I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. And it helps shape you and guide you to better decisions as you move forward. So I'll just forever be grateful for those conversations. And ones like this, where we can bring forward things that would be nice to have, and you realize it's actually much more possible if you just have a desire, you make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about like sisterhood and being in community is that one, we have our own life lessons, but then when we get, and then we take those life lessons and we're like, okay, well, I'm going to make some shifts and some changes. So for me this year has been a lot about dealing with exhaustion and burnout, and how can I be gentler with myself and give myself permission to like not be pushing so hard, or to take more time off, or to be like just like nice to myself. Where you're
Right?
like, okay, you've done really amazing, give yourself some credit for that, and like, okay, you can like you can settle down a little bit, like
Because we're
it's
always
just
like, achieve, achieve. And it's so nice to be like,
yeah.
hey, wait, you actually did something incredible. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. Or like hopping on someone else's learning curve in sisterhood when they've gone through something
Mhm.
hard. And, you're not the one going through it, but you're watching them navigate. And you're like, oh my gosh. And it's inspiring. And you can take some of that and go with it. And yeah, I'm just grateful for conversations like these.
Me too. All right, I want to wrap this up with any final advice you'd like to give us. I feel like we've had a lot, so I don't know if you've
Yeah,
got much more to give, but
it started with like summers off, but I think like I'm so glad that I learned at 28 how precious life is. That's when I ended up in the hospital, and every year I come back to that. And so like I just think doing a quick inventory of the pieces of your life that feel enriched, and it doesn't have to be just money. It's like giving yourself permission to make subtle changes and to find the community that will hold you accountable to that, because it's sometimes easy to lie to yourself or just pretend it doesn't exist. And I think like for me, I'm so glad. I have no regrets about taking summers off, and I will continue to do so, and it's invigorated me to do other things. And so like if you're doing awesome things, do more of them. And if you're doing things that really bring you down, give yourself permission to gamify and shift it. And I know we started with summers off, and then we went to like legacy and all these things in between. But like that's the point of life, is one topic will lead you into up leveling and evolving in other areas. And so like I encourage you to be part of the conversation. If there was something in here that resonated with you, put it into action. Maybe share it on social, but also like tell a friend and be like, let's do this year. Let's hold each other accountable, because I love nothing more than when we have an idea and we bring it to life. And if I look back in the last like 15 years of entrepreneurship, the things that really moved the needle were things like this that I wanted to get behind, that really enhanced my quality of life. And yes, like a good launch and making money is awesome, but there's nothing more rewarding than living in your values. Like when I go on my vacations, like that's one of my core values, is to travel and see the world. There's nothing better. It invigorates me. I come home and I want to do more in my business. And so just that reminder to like listen to the undercurrent of how you feel. And if you feel trapped, remember like you're the one to dig out. And it all it takes is one shovel at a time, and there's
yeah.
been so many times the last 15 years where I thought, that's it, I'm packing it in. But then I got back to like, how can I make this more exciting or more aligned to me or really fit the evolution of where I want to go to? And it reinvigorates me, like these types of conversations. So I just believe we can do anything. I'm a firm believer in that. It's just one step at a time.
I really love that. And I wanted to kind of talk about the fact that if some businesses aren't, they just don't allow you to take full summers off. And it just needs to be structured differently. So don't feel like if you're listening to this, you're like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I own a social media agency, so I can't like fully take my summers off. I have to still be available for my clients. If they have something going on and they want to share it on social media, we'll create content for them. But I can structure it so that I can be like, okay, well, we've already got July all planned out. Maybe we can look at mapping out August. And then, like, to your clients, you can say, look, I'm planning this out and this out. I'm still available. We can do like any additional posts added onto this. But like, this is also an opportunity for you to be able to, like, okay, I can enjoy some summers. I know that this is taken
Yes.
care of. Maybe they can go in and approve the posts before they go on vacation, and then they don't have to worry about that getting put in when they're away. So adjust how you can. Or from the event planner side, I always, and this is one thing that I had to do, which is hard because you'd have to say, okay, this is the week that I'm taking off. I'd have to book this in majorly in advance, but then be like, no, I'm not taking any weddings this week. We're going to Kelowna, or we're doing whatever it is, or we're just going to be at the lake. But that's my time that I'm allocating. And maybe you do it once, like 1 week every month. Like, so you've got a week in July and you got a week in August. And for like the summer months as an event planner, that is your money making months. But it's also like that was one of my things. I was missing so much time with my kids, and I just really wanted to have those memories with them. And so, like I said, not all businesses allow that, but you can adjust your business to allow what you feel comfortable with what your business can do. Or you look at it entirely different and you say, okay, maybe I can find a different aspect to bring more money in when those times, like when I'm going to take those times off.
Yeah, I love that. Like literally thinking intentionally around the seasonality of your business. And for me, it's like quality over quantity, always. Like maybe summers off are not feasible, but like for me, when I look at summers off, I say that with a grain of salt because I still have like at least 6 or 7 dedicated work days, even though it's summer off. It feels like summer off. And so I don't want to mislead anyone. That's not my intent. It's just like we still have to pop into our business once or twice. And as business owners, we know that. But I have still some calls scheduled, but they've been pre-planned for 6 months. I knew intentionally I was going to come to them. And another reason I've been so adamant this summer about taking more time is last summer, I was like, I'm going to take the whole thing off. And then I was like, wait, I have a monster event. And I need to sell tickets. And then I was like resenting myself. So even having had so much experience taking summers off, we're still human. We still, mess things up from time to time. But this summer, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And I moved my event a month later and I prepare more in June. And I've got like so many of the things that were last minute last year aren't happening because I know better. I'm doing better. I plan differently. Yeah. So even if it's not feasible this summer, or, I have clients who are like, I don't want to take summer off, but I want to take a week off, every time my child has a break from school. Well, that could be too. It's just defining what it means for you. Yeah. So I love what you said. It's like, you have to be the one to just ensure you're not abandoning yourself and not doing it. For me, I probably would have had a nervous breakdown had I decided to keep my summer off last summer because I was like, I forgot how much work this is. But I'm doing better this summer. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm glad you brought that up because there's like hopes and then there's reality. And I didn't shame myself. I was just like, if you would have saw me last summer, you would have heard next summer it's going to be different, and that's what's happening for me now. Like this week, we're filming this at the end of June, is intense. I have a million things, but I did that so that summer could be a little less intense. And so like the harmony of working a bit more so we can have some extra time off, I think is just real.
Yeah. And I also want to say, because this is another lesson that I learned through my parents, is that so maybe summer isn't like your priority to take off, but for them, like they would actually like, they weren't retired, but they're like semi-retired. Like they're like testing the waters, right? Yes. So they would take a couple weeks in the States and the next year they would add in a couple more weeks and then eventually it was a month. And so they do remind me that like, okay, just so you know, we didn't go to like full snowbirds 6 months off immediately. We like slowly crept up to it. And so that could be like in that retirement thought process, maybe you're taking more time every single winter off to escape somewhere warm. And
Yes,
that could be
our
your
favorite.
goal. So I just think about like your own business and what do you want?
Well, and it's true. Like, think about how we get people to work with us in our offers. Most people don't jump in, like, who barely know you and work with you for a year. It takes a warming up period. Very similar for, like, what you're talking about legacy wise. I
Mhm.
love how you said, like, your parents took a week and then a month. Very similar. It's like really getting acclimated to the life you love.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I really wanted to have you on to like, you're kicking off season 3 because I feel like season 3 is all about just like really slowing down, really taking note on where our businesses are at and where we want to go. And I think this is a like a big part. The financial aspect is a big part, and the hustle aspect, like all of this is a big part of where do we want our business and our lives to go currently in the future. How are we setting them up? How are we looking at retirement? Like it's just, it all comes into play. And so I'm really happy you came on and had this conversation.
I'm so honored, always honored to spend time with you. And I think like the majority of what this is just like sometimes we get on autopilot. It's that reminder
Mhm.
to like pause the autopilot and be super intentional with who we are now because we evolve so much every year as business owners. And I think like really just taking time to be like, is this what I really want still? Or I've heard this, can I make it possible? And I just believe truly that we can do anything. And I don't mean anything as in like, oh, just this like toxic positivity. I just mean like if it's really on our heart, we find a way to make it happen. And it's
Yeah.
not always easy, but it's always worth it. And for me, time off, making core memories, and traveling is always jet fuel for my soul. And I come back to my business reinvigorated. And just that reminder to think about what that is for you. And I'm really grateful to spend this time. And I'm excited for season 3.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you and your beautiful wisdom.
I love you so much.
All right, that episode was so amazing. Selena always brings so much information, and I'm so happy she's been on our podcast 3 times now. But today was something different because I just wanted to really talk away from the hustle culture and going and moving and doing and just being like that growth aspect and more into being ourselves. And I feel like this is something I hold so deeply right now when it comes to setting our businesses up to allow us more freedom, when it comes to being more calm and gentle and celebratory with ourselves, all the things. And so today's conversation, I have a couple key takeaways I just want to reiterate because I just think it's very, very important for us to build our businesses in a way that allow us more freedom. So I think it's really important, one, to put yourself in the rooms or spaces with people that are inspiring you to live the life of your dreams, but also see what they're doing and how they're doing it. So like I said, Selena opened my eyes to the fact that you could take summers off. Like coming from such a you work hard, you make money, that's kind of like it mindset, like 9 to 5 mindset. It just was like, wait, I don't have to work those hours. And even now, like I'm still going through like and saying, okay, well, I don't need to work from 9 to 5. I can work from 10 to 2. Or I can take Fridays off, or I can take the summer off. Like, what does that look like for you? And when we see other people doing it, it allows us to start believing and dreaming up how that looks for us. Same thing with like I've referred to my parents quite a bit in this episode where I can see what they've done with their retirement and their business and what they're doing. And it really makes me like see what I want my life to look like. Like, do I want to be a snowbird? Do I want to go to Mexico? Do I want to go to Arizona? How long do I want to go for? What does that look like for my family? Like, I love how we've been integrated into their retirement and their being away. We're still like we still go travel and see them and spend time with them, and that time is so special because it is like one whole week that we are with them solid, where we just really like I just soak up every moment that I have. And so I just think putting yourself in rooms with people that are doing the things you want to do allows you to see what's possible, but then also like figure out how you can do that for yourself. So I think that's really, really important. Another thing is that belief. What do people think about us if we decide to take summers off? What will our clients think if we decide to take summers off? Maybe you are in the mindset where, look, my clients, I don't know that they would enjoy getting an email from me saying that I'm taking it off, but I do like take it off and then I'm always available to them. So technically I do a lot of the work in the behind the scenes behind the scenes. And then they don't really know that I'm taking it off because I'm still available to them. I'm still making sure that if they need anything, it's being taken care of. I'm doing my job and making sure that their marketing plan and their social media presence and everything is still incredible, no matter if I'm like actually in the office or not. And so I think that's really important to think about your beliefs and think about like, is this possible for you? And I think also that goes right back to seeing as believing. So that shifts your beliefs in what's possible. Another one I want to talk about, which we talked a lot about, was the retirement aspect. I think when we talk about taking summers off, it's really amazing to be able to do that, but then also to be able to think about that retirement aspect and what does that look like? Because some of us are maybe not like I'm still probably, I don't know, at least 10 years out of that. But at least that like I'm starting to think about it. So I kind of want you to start thinking about what does that look like for you? Because again, if we see it in other people, we can start to dream up what we want. And if we have time now to dream that up and start making a plan and putting an action into place, then we can make that a reality for ourselves. So I just wanted to like bring that up a little bit because I do think that it's a really important thing to just have in the back of our mind, or at least be like deciding what we want in retirement. What does it look like for us? And how can we start building the stepping stones together? Because everything is baby steps in business, in life. We just have to like figure out where we want to go and then make a plan of action to get there. And then finally, I really wanted to talk a little bit on that health aspect. So yeah, we can say, you know what, I really want this for my family. I want to take the summers off so I can enjoy my kids and see them grow up and be part of that. But also, life is going to throw us curveballs. It's going to throw us curveballs in our health. It's going to throw us curveballs in, like for me right now, it's a lot of burnout that I've been dealing with. And so just knowing what you are able to do and be prepared in case like you get really sick. Like, so this is like nothing, but last week I was basically like all ready to record all these podcasts. I was so busy and then I just had like no voice whatsoever. So it kind of just makes you think, okay, how are you setting your business up to continue flowing if something happens to take you out or a family member out? Like that's probably the worst wording ever, but how like if something happens and you aren't able to be in your business, how are you creating that security and that safety so that you can be protected in your financial aspect, in your mindset, in your freedom, and all those things? And so I just wanted to bring that up. I think this conversation was really, really hugely impactful because we do get to create our business the way we want to create it. We get to structure it. We get to build in some security and safety with recurring revenue or by putting money aside for a rainy day or for travel or whatever it is. And that is a lot of the part of our like building our business to shape our dreams. We want to make sure that we're building a business that allows us to have that time and freedom, which is why we started a business. But how can we increase it more? How can we increase increase our security and our safety in our business? And this whole like conversation, I think, just like really makes you look at your business in a whole and then look at what other people are doing and be like, okay, I really want to do that too. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this episode stirred something in you, if you're craving a business that gives you more time, space, and life, then I want you to be in the room at the Be Bold conference on October 7th, 2025 at the Whitewood Barn. We are going to have Selina there, which is going to be amazing. Last time we did a fire burning ceremony where we let go of like the things that were holding us back and then burned them in the fire. But it's also about surrounding yourself with just like incredible, bold women in business who understand you, who can help give you like inspiration into dreaming up your own business, your growth. And we're just going to be like building our businesses in a way that feels aligned for the life that we actually want and we want to live. And so I really encourage you to get your ticket to the Be Bold conference on October 7th. We have a limited number of tickets available, but I just know that the room itself is so magical. What we achieve together in this room is so magical, and it is just an event you are not going to want to miss. I love it so much, and I know you will too. So I hope to see you there.